towards the area, get farm place, and I found a place less than 100 foot. I got my things all stuck up in my house in storage. I got it all over. So I'm not even into business right now. But then what happened is that the state came, so we will help you guys to move. But it didn't come in until it was time for us to go. And we left the creditor us to help us, to give us a loan, to help us find place, you know, if you want to take a storage, you can find a place to move and things. And about 7 to, I think about 10 of us, we left. And now we had to pay back the county. I think I've paid the second one, this is the third payment. So what I'm appealing to you is that if you can help us, like what everybody said, we can find a place and we'll be comfortable. That won't have our head, you know, or looking from the back, what the next thing? Okay, this place is not ours. Oh, when they come and take us out of here. Because what I went through every day, I said, and I cried. Up to now, I still hurt. So that's why I'm appealing to you. We'll find a place where we can say, yes, we go to business. This is our business place. We're going to go there to work. We're going to sell our community. Because there are some things we sell within our community you can't find out there. So as I'm speaking right now, I'm still hurting in it. That other people who were in the building with me are also out there. Some of them think I need stories of the girlfriend of mine. He's talking with a girlfriend of mine. I moved just all over.
None of you found new?
No. We found place, like for me, I got a place and that's a storage. I can't sell for there's an office space. Another person, you know, they got 1 or 2 areas they trying to.
So basically, you're not selling, but you have to pay back the loan. That's what it is. So we're looking at getting the owning commercial properties because the landlords have freedom to do what they want to do. I don't know if there's even a law out there that prevents landlords from some of the things that we go through as minority communities. I mean, they have total access. They can do whatever they want to do. And they tell you, say, civil lawsuit, take me to court. How can a small afford a lawyer to do some of these things? Another person?
Well, and just first of all, I'm so sorry. And it just makes me wonder as you talk about ways to work together, even as I think you had mentioned about real estate. Thomas, I think it was, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. About maybe expanding from a residential to a commercial. Having that competency amongst LEBA members is really important because then you can you have that shared resource to represent you, help you find space, negotiate for you. So, landlords are really good at taking advantage of their tenants. Believe me, I know firsthand. We also, unfortunately, there's limited retail space, which is a great challenge. And I'm just so sorry. I don't have a solution for you right now, but this, listening to your challenges.
And I think that's the reason Brooklyn Park acquired that location through congressional funding as well to help ease some of these displacement that we felt.
And so, Winfrey, is there going to be opportunities for like Antoinette and others in that development? I don't know.
Yes,
but not yet.
about 16 or so. Especially part of the situation she's talking about, that's also in my district that I represent in the council. So we're in a very difficult position when that happened as a council and an economic development authority because it's a privately owned space. Yes. So we can't, and so part of the challenge was that a lot of these businesses that were there, the small and micro businesses that were there, I don't know if you visited that space. Yeah, but there's so many of them there. They apparently had month-to-month lease. Yeah. And so the business owner wanted, a long-term lease. We're not in a position to secure long-term leases with all of these small businesses. So then a dental clinic came through and said, well, I want to rent the whole thing for 10 years. Yeah. So what is the business owner going to do? Of course. Okay, so the Economic Development Authority, we stepped in, we tried to work with them. So I'm not sure if it was the state, county, or the city, because I
think it's the city.
Yes, so it's the city. We provided $5,000 to each of those affected businesses.
As loans, right?
Yes, to step in to help them if they move in Brooklyn Park. Obviously, we can't use our tax dollars.
You have to move elsewhere.
Yeah, to move somewhere else. So anyway, so we work with them. We work with them pretty closely and say, okay, get a master leaseholder and get a
Yeah.
space, and then we
Sell
will.
it out.
Yeah, we sell it out. So part of the challenge too, and I think one of the things that we're working with Levi and other groups in the city is that part of that technical assistance and building the capacity of a lot of these small and micro businesses, how the lease process works, how these things work, and how to implement them. And I think we were able to talk to the business owner to at least give them, and with the Liberian Business Association, we're able to give them an extension on the length of the time that they could be there before they were kicked out. And by that time, many of them, felt, naturally felt dissolution, and that. But but there was just so much that we could do, as a council and as a city, when you have some of these, predatory lenders or property owners, But part of the answer is the small business development center. Yeah.
Who's next?
I'll be looking at much of the funding competence and opportunities that's available in the district of Minnesota at large. So for example, the Brooklyn Park Business Center that has been spoken about, I observed with dismay that most of the contractors or even people doing the work or that have the contracts, none of them are local-owned businesses. When I mean local-owned businesses, I mean immigrant-owned businesses. So how do you empower immigrant-owned businesses to thrive? Yes, you build this place, and none of them have the opportunity to participate in any part of the funding allocated for such projects.
It's a contract.
I mean, when it comes to competence, we have competence. It's not a question that we need to look around at all. And what I have done in most cases with contracts I do, I look for factoring companies. I mean, to fund my projects or payment offering and things like that. Though that take a lot from us, but we need to look at how can we make these opportunities available and applicable for our community. The blue line. I know it's not happening right now. We've been talking about it for a couple of years. I know there's a lot of money put into it already. What are we benefited? I mean, are we part of the architectural team? Are we part of the IT team looking into the infrastructures, the deployment, the development of it? How does the state help us with these things? These are major concerns I have.
Great, and that's a legitimate concern as well. Thomas?
And I think we pretty much almost circle around the same concern. And I talked previously about looking at the state. We want to be able to build some sort of capacity. And my concern here is not to just give us everything free, but we want to be able to have programs that are going to build capacity. We can compete out there too, because we cannot effectively compete if we lack the capacity to do that. I'm not too interested in just giving me handouts.
No.
I want to
We're business people, yeah.
to go out there. We've been doing a lot of, understanding the real estate, the commercial side of it. Well, there is a lot of upfront spending, and if you go out there to commercial banks, the same thing we face with part of the lending processes. You're a small business, you really don't have 25% or 30% to put down to get into these businesses. Of course, there are alternative ways. You can leverage, partnership, to get funds and other stuff like that. But we just want to make sure that if there are programs out there, whether your office is, has anything within your office or any other activity that can give us the capacity to build ourselves to get into these, commercial things. Because here's the situation where she's facing, right? We should be able to have minority businesses owning commercial properties.
Correct.
Right? We understand our culture, we understand our people. And some of these businesses may not be able to commit to a 10-year lease.
Correct.
Or 15-year lease, right? But if we have ourselves, owning commercial real estate, we can better cater to our own people or to lower businesses. But we want that capacity so that we can venture out there and begin to participate in commercial real estate, ownership.
Correct. And Congressman, one of the things that we hear most of the time when they talk about federal funding is like federal funding is reimbursable. And you can't get this money until you do the work, and then we'll reimburse you. It looks like you just take a whole lot of minority businesses outside of that federal dollars. And so we are saying we want to participate within the federal system as well. So we can't spend $500,000 we don't have before we get reimbursed, and it takes 90 days to get reimbursed. Small, micro immigrant businesses will not survive on that. So we will not even participate in the federal funding program. And that's something that we're hoping that these, when the laws are being made, there can be provision for small and micro businesses, even people who are thinking about business, people with ideas who want to do business. How do they get into the space? And sometimes they got great ideas that will be beneficial to our community, but they can't get into the space because they don't have funding. And so we need to find a way to make it work. Any other person?
So, okay, so we got some the CARES dollars that we redistributed to many of the businesses and organizations in the community. So part of the challenge, as you know, part of our challenge is that we are operating on federal guidelines, okay? And so all of the reporting requirements that we have, you know, it's not that requirements that we made up or the state made up, because these are our federal dollars that came to us. So we have these guidelines that came from the fact that we have to comply with, you know. And so that's been the challenge. So how do we find some sort of customizable type approach to working with these small and micro businesses? I mean, 61.2% of our population is of color, and 24% is foreign born. Many of these folks who own businesses, understand all of this complexity that comes with, giving out federal money and how we have to report as a city. So we gave out the first batch of, money, about $900,000. We gave out $3.4 million, and the money that we gave out, I think many of the organizations still have not received the money yet. We gave that money out how many months ago? Like several months ago.
Several months ago.
Yeah, and we have $4.4 million left to give out, to redistribute to organizations and groups in the community, because our whole compliance piece. So part of our challenge though is that hand-holding piece. So that's why we need to build the capacity of organizations like LIBA, and others, can work with these small and micro businesses. We don't have the staff and the capacity to handhold a lot of these organizations to ensure that they comply with these federal, requirements. So that's part of the challenge that
and Congressman, one of the things that bothers us, when we hear that, like the city of Brooklyn Park got $11 million for small businesses, and we don't see it in our community. And it bothers us because we hear this big money, and we think that, okay, it's going to bring development, business development to our community and build capacity and other things. But if we have to spend money before we can get reimbursed after 90 days, even if we went to a bank, as you take a loan from a bank, you have to start paying the next day. It takes 60 to 90 days to get reimbursed. We small businesses, we can't. So LIBA needs to build its own capacity, we understand that, but we also need a partner that will understand that our small and micro business, minority businesses, we don't have what it takes to get to that point. And once we can get that partner, we can get there. And it's just a matter of tweaking some of these rules and regulations to fit all of our needs. And it can't just be for big corporation. And when I say small business, what is the definition of a small business? Many of the time it's 500,000, 10 employees and above. But we're micro, that's why I always say small and micro business. I don't even say small business, small and micro businesses. We are the micro businesses. And so those are some of the things that we want to talk about.
I would just want to what the council wants to say. It's very simple. So when you write the bill, support for small businesses, 10% should go to community engagement, capacity building. If that money is set aside, then the strong will not be there, because once that money is there, then the money will come to organizations like labor, cardio, and they will be able to support the small business. But without that clear language, when the money comes, they have to follow the rule, and then that money doesn't come to us.
So, Jude, I can say that, to your point, we have tried on the Small Business Committee to actually dedicate the restaurant revitalization Fund was a good example, where we actually tried to dedicate resources to minority-owned firms first, veteran-owned, women, intentionally to try to set aside some and give preferential treatment, if you will, to the businesses that need it in communities that need it the most. And unfortunately, those across the aisle objected, and the courts agreed with them. So it actually, it didn't work. So we have to find ways, to your point, to ensure that when we do these programs, that the sharks don't get all the meat. You know?
Correct. The sharks.
And that's what, I mean, it's a game of sharks. You know?
Yeah.
They know it's coming, they smell it, and they go, and they get it right away. And I'm really struck by the consistency in everything you're all saying. You're not asking for anything that others aren't being afforded. You just can't seem to, you're always at the back of the line.
Correct.
And that makes me disgusted. And I'm very inspired to bring that back to the committee and share that, because that's not equitable. It's not fair. And I hear you. And I think your pursuit of becoming a CDFI is a really important step, because then you kind of start controlling some of that destiny and open up a lot of doors. I do want to ask, are there any communities, are there any groups, organizations that you can share with me that are doing this intermediary work better, that I can learn more about and try to...
You mean like community-sensitive organizations?
I mean, I hear a lot of challenges and the need to have an advocate, to have an organization that is better serving. Are there examples?
Well, we have ESER that is in a space doing some of the work. ESER.
Yeah, ESER.
Patio is doing some of the work. LIBA in the space, we're doing some of the
But
work.
I think he's talking most, but not even at the Acer and Patio, Cappy and all of that,
Yeah.
but like the Asian community.
Yeah, I'm talking other.
Oh,
other-
like the Asian
other
community?
models, because
Yeah.
it is, it's not unique to the librarian community.
No.
There are,
Or the African.
and certain communities have found ways
Yes.
to work together and build models. Are there any that you're aware of?
I think
Latino community is pretty good.
the Latino community, yeah.
Asian community is pretty good.
And
So like,
what-
we have a coalition of Asian American leaders.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful organization, and they get all kinds of funding, and then they turn it to their small communities. They're doing good in that.
I think they're lobbying too. They're doing a lot of lobbying. So let's go, we're running out of time. The congressman got to leave.
I think we're all saying the same thing, but just to reflect what Congressman rather asked, I think there's a complete, for me, I see it as a complete disconnect between SBA and what we consider, for my definition, what it calls small business or macro level businesses. Regulations within the SBA itself and all the processes and funding, we can't access it just because a lot of the regulations I don't have specific yet. But organizations like ADC and other institutions are doing well because they have the resources as an institution to build it, but they can just, the resources they have will not be able to serve the whole capacity. We all in totality because of limitations and the resources that they have. So to me, LIBA as an institution, some of SBA, I think needs to start finding institutions within community, within the framework that is set up community that can actually have direct impact to get resources to what I would consider as a small businesses. Yeah. In our community, Walmart would be considered as a small business.
You're right.
Exactly. And funding go to them because they have the infrastructure in place, they know how to look for the money and access, and we don't have it. I mean, everything I've learned about business development, either through my own development or LIBA. Yeah. And so many of us, lastly, that's how it starts. Before you can even become your own employee, sometimes it's 3-4 years. I'll pay my employees for almost 2.5 years before I could get on salary. Yeah. So I had to find a job. That's how much we put into it and want to see it develop. And having SBA, and you got to have 500 employees or $1 million before you can even access. When you go to the banks don't even know us in a sense. So thank God that at least we have had opportunity for Chase to come and listen to us. I mean, we've been here long enough and have done well. We spend money and put resources in this community, but we don't get enough. Because the idea is that we not, I don't care how much we learn, how many capacity we build, people got to give us access.
Yes.
And based on, I'm curious about JP Morgan Chase. You said they're the first that really it seems to have taken somewhat of an interest. Do you see potential with them, or are they just, is it window dressing, or are they really, are they?
I would now, but we're working our way
Okay.
to a great partnership. I think they want to see a lot more. And because we haven't had an opportunity with a bank to come into our to Levi and say, let's talk to businesses like you're doing. So they have been the first to come and sit. So we're having conversation around training.
Okay.
We're having other conversation. And maybe in the future we might say, look, help build our capacity, and this is what we need.
If I could, on this subject, I want to respond by saying there are two approaches that I'm inspired to look into. One of which is with the big banks, there are incentives for them to work with you. Are they significant enough? Are they working well enough? I don't know, and that's why I want to ask if they're just pretending they really mean it. And the more you can keep me posted about that, the more I can share with my colleagues on the Financial Services Committee that hold the big banks accountable and set their policy to look at ways to provide either more mandates or inspiration. That's one.
Okay.
On the Small Business Committee, this is very valuable to me because the definition of small business is really meaningful. You're right. I think a lot of my colleagues think of small businesses as really being big businesses. And to focus and even change the terminology to micro businesses and inject that into our committee work is really important. And I promise you, I'll do so because I'm starting to undertake I chair the committee on investigations, on the subcommittee of investigations and oversight for small business administration. And this is an area where I can actually make an impact by challenging them on how the programs and resources that we appropriate to them, whether or not they're getting to the people that are the ones we're supposed to be getting to. And it sounds to me right now that it's not. So those are the two approaches I'll be taking. But I do need from all of you, and I know our time is drawing to a close, but what I ask of Leva is to share with me some specific action steps that I can help with. Sometimes I can, sometimes I can't, but I want to hear. If I can't do it in Washington, perhaps connecting you locally with the philanthropic community or some of the local programs and people. I want to be a connector for all of you. But I do need some more specificity sometimes about what specifically you think I can do to advocate for you. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. Thank you. I was just about to bring about that point. Since we've all been talking about the problems, so I think one of the things that you could take back is for businesses like ours, the aspect of reimbursement. Financing being reimbursable does not work for us right now. We all pray that we can reach to that point where we are able to do that, but there is still a gap. So one of the things you could advocate for is for businesses to be giving up funds up front in phases and to be held accountable. So say, for example, if I'm going to get a loan of $100,000, let us sign up that you give me 30 or 40% up front, and I be held accountable if I do, and you see the deliverables for 30%, then you can give the next phase and what have you. For our kind of businesses, that is going to work definitely for us. And then over time, we're going to build a capacity, and then we can get into this reimbursable program. But for now, we need funds up front for operation. Anything outside of that, is that going to be possible for this?
Yes.
This is very, very helpful. Everything you shared. Is
So what we're gonna do? No, we passed 5 minutes of our time. Congressman got to leave. Why don't we take a picture with him on the wall, and we got some food he can taste, and then he can run. So we want to say thank you, Congressman, for coming. We appreciate you being here to listen to our concerns. We know you will not be able to solve all of our problems, but you'll be able to advocate on our behalf. And we too will be able to give you the information you need to be able to advocate on our behalf. And so we want to thank you. Definitely we want to thank you for the work that you do in our community, and we want to thank you for coming. So we'll move that table a little, we'll stand and take picture with you. It is important for us to take picture, and someday you'll sign on those pictures and we'll sell it for millions.
And then the CDFI will have everything.
I know.
And Congressman, Councilman, Mr. Representative, look behind you. This is what they call progress.
This is
Look, this is
all small business. I love it.
So these Hey, my name is Jackson George. We are here at our monthly meeting. We invited businesses where we come, we network, share resources, best practices. We're going to be interviewing a lot of small businesses after our workshop with Chase Bank, JP Morgan Chase, one of the largest banks in town. So we're going to be doing some interviews with small and micro businesses. So just stay tuned, and we will interview them after our workshop. The Tama and Son Construction Company. Franco, you're a general contractor. How do you feel being a general contractor in the United States?
Well, it's so amazing. I feel very proud and honored, having the opportunity to come in here. Back home, what we use in terms of construction is different. We have concrete and black, but having the opportunity to be able to learn these skills, learn about the different building code and regulation, give me a great honor, and that makes me so proud. That when I see what is happening back home and see what I've learned here, I'm like, wow, I can't believe someone we are living in something like death trap. No building code, and that's what we found some of the houses back home, fire catching on the things happening. You have to be able to learn that.
So, but my understanding is that you have a business in Liberia, a construction company.
Yes.
So tell us a little about your construction company back home.
So back home, we involved with residential, Tama and Son Construction. So my dad actually run that one, and I did that because I said the dream started from him. So he runs that, and I'm hoping here down the road I can do what I can to be able to expand that.
Okay.
So COVID really make it went down a little bit, but we used to do a lot of projects, even some government project, also doing something for Firestone. We did a lot of project for Firestone.
So tell us, when they say in America, when they say general contractor,
So
what does it mean to be a general contractor? Because everybody can be general contractor.
right.
Some certification, some registration. It takes a lot to be general contractor.
It is a lot.
I think you're the only general
Yeah,
contractor
right now in our community, I'm telling you, I'm one of the only, and I'm still looking if there's anyone, but not yet.
Yeah.
There are other people who are subcontractors. Sometimes the general people don't understand. They have registration number, and by law, they're supposed to work under a general contractor.
Correct.
General contractor is supposed to create job opportunity for all the sub. You don't have that license, state license. It's just like the doctor, wherever the license that we take. They hold you up there, you got to go to education, you got to get. But with subcontractor, they don't have to do all of those things.
So it's a big thing to be a general contractor.
Oh, yeah.
You can subcontract, you can contract with state, federal government.
Federal government and everything, yeah. And they have to be through you. Yeah, that other people get.
Thank you very much, Bronco.
Thank you for all you do. And with Liba, really, really grateful for the opportunity. And
No problem. You're one of the strong members of LIBA. You donate a lot. We really appreciate you. Thank you so much.
Oh, thank you.
He's the ethics director of LIBA too. I'm here with Kamati Dian. Kamati is a business owner. He's the executive director of the Liberia organization here, OLM. Kamati, tell us a little about your businesses. I know you don't have one.
So we do short-term events.
Events.
Yeah, basically we have a party
Okay.
where people interact,
Okay.
come together to celebrate and company.
Okay.
You know, we the Liberians and other Londoners, it's a good thing after a stressful weekend. You come together and celebrate a wedding, baby shower. It's a small little event, and I think it's free.
Okay. And what about the healthcare business?
Yeah, that thing is in the pipeline. It's been there
What about the other one? You got three.
So, yeah, I got a partner.
Okay.
Right? We have partners. Those partners. They don't like to be, they're all silent.
Silent.
So, because about to do a lot of talking, they always like to put my face.
I wouldn't let you go. It's good that you're a business person, but I wouldn't let you go. I want to tell you thank you for the community. Since you took over this community, it's been quiet. The community was very busy. Since you took over, it's quiet. So I want to say thank you for the work you've done in this community. We are progressive. So apart from you being a business owner, I know it's a sacrifice that you made to divide your time with your business and your community. I just want to, in this public manner, say thank you for the work.
Yeah, I want to tell you too. It's not me, it's all of us. Like I always say, I'm just the face. All the people that do the hard work in the background that you don't get to see. So just their face, but they deserve the credit, and I'm grateful that the board of directors have confidence to organize their employee in the thing.
Thank you,
I think I want to thank you too for Liba. We've had the business together for quite a long time. And now that the Liberian community, I own one business umbrella called Liba.
Yeah.
And Liba has been lots of strides. Liba, as you know, is the Liberian business future, but it's a combination of non-Liberian businesses in the state of Minnesota and outside of Minnesota as well. And this Liba organization have made a lot of landmark.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, I'm here with Alvin. We just had a great training with Chase Bank. I'm here with Alvin, the owner of Closed Doctor Dry Cleaning. The only closed doctor dry cleaning in the state of Minnesota. Alvin, how's business been? I know I did an interview with you a long time ago. How's business been?
Oh, yeah, pretty good. Since the store business has increased awesomely, and we keep increasing, and our people is coming over.
Okay.
Business growing, and at this time, we have took the business to a 5-star dry.
5-star dry cleaning.
We are the only 5-star dry cleaners in Broken Park.
Okay.
We are our competition, so we are there.
So, man, thank you. I'm hoping the goal here is to get the African community, the Liberian community to support your store. We'll do everything we can to support your store. And so, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. I'm here with Miss Hane. So, thank you for coming to the training today, though, our workshop. Tell us a little about your business. What do you do?
Well, guys, my name is Miss Ganesh. I am a new traditional artist from Liberia. And I showcase our Liberian culture and tradition to the rest of the world through my art. And I also own a clothing line called Country Girl, where we provide clothes for women of all sizes and ages.
And
Also men.
So it's an online business?
Yes, it's an e-commerce business.
And how long have you been in business?
Since 2016.
2016. So, I mean, I show that people buy your product from all over the United States. So that's just not across the United States, in Canada and other places.
Yeah, Germany.
Are you doing something in Liberia right now?
Yes, we do have a location there.
Okay.
Yeah, so we have some of our products there, and people in Liberia also have access.
One of the things we want to thank you for in this public manner, you came to our program, Liba Annual Gala, and you praised our program with your traditional music. And so we want to say thank you for that performance. I know you go around the United States and around the world to bring Liberian arts and culture out. And so on behalf of, again, as honorary council, I want to thank you for what you do in the community or in the United States, trying to bring all our arts and culture. And the songs that you sing are very traditional. Thank you.
Always my pleasure.
No problem. Thank you.
Thank you.
And God bless. Hey, I'm here with the owner of Black Bumble. Please tell us a little about Black Bumble.
Okay, so Black Bumble, I'm going to quickly put a disclaimer. It's going through rebranding because there's a Bumble app that's a dating app. But I did not know that when I got the name and, registered it and everything, because I'm not in the dating scene. So that's my excuse. But anyways, for now, that's what it's called. It's an app. It's a multi-platform app. It has movie screening, interaction, as in, I'm trying not to say social media, but because it's more than that, where people get to engage with each other and, chat. It also has multi-venue e-commerce. So my objective is more like a one-stop shop where you're not downloading that way you're not downloading like 20 apps just to achieve one thing, So that was my motivation behind it. And in addition to that, we also do IT solutions, web and app development. That's another segment of Black Bumble. So if anyone needs help with their app, or they just want a new software for their company, definitely look us up for LinkedIn. And also there's blackbumble.com and business consulting.
Business consulting.
Yeah.
So when you say business consulting, you help people start their business, you help people manage their marketing.
Definitely, that's what we do. So we do business consulting. We put together marketing strategy. Since we already offer the web and app solutions, meaning we already are working with the businesses, so we just kind of combine everything together, and we give you a package. So we help you with your online marketing, online presence, your branding, business plan. We throw that in. There's a lot of freebies that we throw in there for you. So.
All right, I will be calling you soon. So again, if you want to contact CEO of Bumble, Black Bumble,
Yeah.
please, it's blackbumble.com.
Yes, blackbumble.com, and send us, sign the contact sheet, and we'll be in touch with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Thank you. Yeah.
We have all kinds of food. We cater. We it's community based. And one thing we do in Mama T's, nobody leaves empty. So when you come in and you cannot afford to buy the food, we always feed you. And we love what we do. It's our passion.
And you've been in business for a long time. I mean, you were one of the first restaurants in town. And so the Liberian community and here, what we're looking at with all of the development coming and all of these things, we're hoping that Mama T will bring that food to us.
Yeah.
So tell us about the food. Do you do the Liberian food, or how do you do? Is it the African food?
Yeah, we do basically Liberian food.
Okay.
We do Liberian food, but the way we do it in a way where everybody able to eat it.
Okay.
We don't cook pork. We don't cook dried fish. We don't put pepper in our food.
Okay.
Our food are well seasoned. We have technique that we use that cause the food to be tasty without putting a whole lot of stuff in there to cause other people.
So you cook for everybody?
For everybody, pretty much. We also cook for the vegetarians, for the vegans. You can eat meat. We have it available and all of that.
Mama T, before you leave, are you planning about doing something in Liberia?
I've been thinking about that. But
people do your fingers in Liberia.
I know. A lot of people have come up to me and they offer to do that. They want something like that, but I am thinking about it.
Okay.
So I'm trying to kind of like get Mama T off and to be self-efficient. That's the word. Then I can go ahead and maybe do something like that.
Well, we look forward to you. Thank you so much for being.
So much. It's a pleasure. It's a pleasure. Thank you.
All right. I'm here with Mr. and Mrs. Toby. We got guest technology group, and then we got PNC Learning Center. So we're gonna talk to ladies first. We're gonna go to the PNC Learning Center. Shelley, tell us a little about PNC Learning Center.
Well, PNC Learning Center is a childcare center.
Okay.
We specialize in giving quality care.
All right.
So we've been in business for 16 years.
16 years.
Yeah. So we started as a family childcare, but now we're moving on to the center. And so we have much to offer. We usually say we become a parent in the absence of a parent.
Okay.
So when you bring the child will still be in a parent. What are you not getting? What are you idea on your child?
So what is your clientele? Do you cater to the wide variety of everybody, or just the Liberian community?
No, not just the Liberian community. We cater to a wide variety of people.
Okay.
So the Latino, Liberian, American, African American, white.
So if you're in the state of Minnesota, you've just heard this is the owner of a daycare. Please bring your kids. When you got your kid in a facility that you can trust, it's a good thing for all of us. Let me turn over to Glenn. Glenn, tell me a little about your technology company.
Well, it's called Gas Technology.
Gas Technology.
It's GTG.
All right.
So it is a managed service provider, and so what that means is we become an IT resource for you, an IT department for small businesses. That's just one portion of it. We cater to dealing with designing your networks and providing the services that you have, and also providing security as well. And there's a big component in that because with what's happening now since COVID, even before, but even more so now, with technology, the way it changes, but also with the need for data security, you have a lot of small businesses that are impacted because they don't have the wherewithal.
Okay.
Most small businesses don't have an IT department. Most small businesses don't have even an IT personnel.
Correct.
Neither do they understand how the systems are built or set up. So we come in there, do an assessment, figure out how you set up, and then guide you through the process and make sure that you design correctly, and then also provide training for how you can secure your systems, and train your employees as well.
Most of the small and micro businesses, call them small and micro businesses, they don't have the kind of funding to cover some of these costs. So is there a product that we can come into a pool and pay for the service, and then every month, if there's an issue, we can call and get? Is that a product like that?
Yeah, which is what the managed service provider is. So you have services through the provider. It's a subscription service. So what happens is you have for example, you have a small business, you got email, you got backup, you need your tools that you use, your office tools. We provide that to you, but at the same time, on a regular basis, if there are issues with having phone lines, we're connected with the other big players, other vendors are out there who have like the Microsoft of the world and all of that. So we have the tools and access to provide it to you at a considerable cost that is affordable to you. Yeah, that we talk about even the devices that you have. Our desire or our plan is what we do. We provide you alternatives to some of the tools or equipment you use at a lower cost. So for example, big players like Cisco, not everyone can afford that.
Yeah.
But you have alternatives that you could use and still provide.
And be effective.
Yeah.
Perfect. So Tobe, thank you. Thank you for your service. We look forward to working with all of our small micro businesses. So you see, this is our board. We want this banner. We're going to start making the second banner because now we're getting so many businesses and everybody wants to see the banner. So we have to start expanding and opening up these banners. Thank you again, Mr. Tobe. We look forward to doing some working with you. Great. I'm here with Francis. Francis, the owner of
Belong Healthcare, and I'm a realtor.
So let's start with Belong Healthcare. Tell us a little about your business and when you started this business.
Well, I started this business 2 years ago. It's a healthcare business. It's called what is commonly known as a group home, but it's officially an assisted living. It's a home I started 2 years ago. I take care of mostly mentally challenged residents, and that's what I've been doing for 2 years.
Okay, and so are they Nigerians that you taking care of, or
a variety of clients. I have white, black, Asian, doesn't matter, men and women residents like that.
And you have employees?
I do. And most of my employees, 95% of my employees are Liberians.
Great. And so so you have 90% of your employees are Liberians, you are an employer. And so you give W2, girl, you got it going. So let's talk about the realtor. It's something that is dear to your heart.
It's very dear to my heart. I became a realtor a few months ago, and one of the main reasons I became a realtor, not so much because I wanted the money, but when I was buying my second home, I learned through a realtor that Minnesota holds the least amount of minority owners in the entire country. And that was like really touched my heart. I'm like, really? Only 33% of the population of Minnesota minority, the home ownership, only 33%. So
and that's wealth building.
Yes, a home is where you have generational wealth.
Exactly.
You build generational wealth through home ownership. And when I saw that only 33% of minority owners were own homes in Minnesota, I was like, I have to go and educate people about the importance.
So it's not just about them buying home, it's about education, building a world.
And encouraging them, yeah.
Because we need to build wealth in our community. So is there any tip you have for first-time buyer, people who want to buy a home?
Well, it's always good to get with your local realtor. Like for me, I'm working with other lenders, mortgage people to find ways in where first-time home buyer can tap into the incentive, the free money to help them with down payment and closing costs. So getting with your local realtor like yourself and also your local lenders, mortgage companies to help you tap into those resources. There are a lot of first-time home buyer resources that people do not understand that exist.
So if people wanted to contact you, what's their website?
It's francis.cham@results.net.
There you go.
And my number is 267-980-6520.
That was fast. Say again.
267-980-6520.
And please call for the right reasons too. Thank you. Thank you, Francis. I'm here with Mr. Thomas Tamba, the CEO and partner of City Realty, one of the largest Liberian-owned realtor company in the state or in the United States. So Thomas, tell us a little about your business and how you came about to even start a realty company.
Actually, start with real estate. I actually started with 30 years ago. But people progress.
Yeah.
And so as we began to understand the American society and the people how they react to business, we had to look at other type of businesses. So real estate was one of those businesses that we felt that we could get into understanding and help our people to. So that's the reasoning behind establishing a real estate company. So like any other business, it begins little. You have learning curves. And as you grow, you begin to expand. And you begin to take advantage of the knowledge and how you can help people.
So how has the Liberian community supported the business? I mean, they're your clientele. I know you're large now, so you've grown out of the Liberian community too, but I think that's your base. So tell us a little about the support that this community has given.
Generally, the Liberian community has been a niche for us. We've created relationships that we've been able to capitalize on, and we also been able to project ourselves in the community like people that are relatable, right? And we've been able to help instill trust, right? Because one of the challenges we've had, especially as we've been Liberians, is we don't seem to be much trusting of one another.
Confidentiality.
Yeah, the issue of confidentiality, and you cannot just blame Liberians because they have had experiences.
Correct.
But people who stood out there as professional people did not actually deliver, right? Part of the professionalism that comes with providing service, just like other nationalities do. So we had to fight that. We have to continuously, conscientize our Liberians that all Liberians are the same. So I've seen Liberians coming around. Matter of fact, 80% of our business comes from the Liberian community. But we do serve other communities as well. But we also feel that they should bring a lot of good service. A lot of professionalism, a lot of ethics, right? To serve the community. That has been really rewarding for the trust in us, and we have been pretty well helping right now. Establishing that.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for coming out for.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. I know a lot of the things we've been doing has been within the residential community, residential home ownership. But we are now trying to create some sort of consciousness so that Librarians can begin to understand that, wealth creation is not just, it may start with your personal residence, but we are trying to let people know that, hey, let's look beyond just residential homes.
Yeah.
Let's begin to look at commercial investment.
Yeah.
Because once we begin to get involved, right? We have greater ability to not just create wealth, but sustain wealth.
Can you point out to your logo on this board?
Yeah, this is City Realty, and City Realty has been one of the founding members of and partner of LIBA.
Correct.
So we all work here. We share the same building, not the same suite, but City Realty has been working along with LIBA and Johnson John has been doing extremely well. I say that. And keep it up, and let's keep the networking. Let's continue to work with Jason.
So again, as you may have seen, all of these little interviews that we did, the idea is to bring exposure to small and micro businesses. We're doing a great job in terms of bringing small and micro businesses, exposure to small and micro businesses. So this is Liba. If you look here, we have all of these businesses backgrounds or our meetings so that people can we still want to bring this exposure. So if you're out there and you want to be a part of Liba, it's www.libausa.org. Come and be a part of this great networking organization. This great networking organization is doing a lot in the community and in the diaspora. This is a diaspora-based organization. And as we have these networking meetings, we're going to be expanding next year after winter, summertime, into the different states. I just went to Iowa. I'm going to Colorado. I'm going to Ohio. We're going to open branches around the United States so that we can begin to network, identify the resources in our community, network among ourselves, trade among ourselves, and do the big things that we need to do. We need to build wealth in our community, and that's where we are headed. It's time a dollar stay in our community for 1 minute, or less than 10 minutes. We have to keep the money in our community if we must build wealth. And it's okay for an African or immigrant to be rich. It's okay for us to support a business to make that business rich. And that is my goal. My goal is for us to make millionaires in the diaspora that will be able to go back to the continent and help rebuild our continent. Thank you. God bless.
Is around to you kids and to those people who influence children in a good way to say, we don't know the answer. We don't know what's going on. We're here with a blank slate. We want you to write on us. Tell us what's going on. Let's hear what's going on in your minds. Let's hear what your daily struggles are. And let's find out what's happening. And teach us the way to find a solution. And so having said that, I get my program sheet out, so I'm going to find one. My name is Sisi Goya, by the way. I am a board member of the Organization of Liberians in Minnesota. But what I'm mostly proud of is that I influence kids. I'm a high school math teacher. I influence kids to stay alive and see the future. And I think if they can stay alive and see the future, we can all see our future together. And so what I'm mostly proud of is that work that I hope I'm doing. And so we'll talk about that as time goes by, because we have some panelists in the house that I'm very proud of today that come from my school. Children that I know are very articulate. So let me borrow some of this program sheet and then we can run this through. And so we're going to go through real quick, and because this is a house of God, and Liberians are historically religious people, we're going to call on the Reverend Dr. Francis Tabla, senior pastor of the Bethesda Church, this community, to come out and do an opening prayer, and then that will be followed by his opening remark. Right?
Let us pray. God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, we thank you for making it possible for us to gather here tonight. Thank you for life. Thank you for health. Thank you for strength. Thank you for putting in the minds of our community leaders to convey this town hall meeting. And we just come to pray now that you will grace this town hall meeting with your presence. We pray, oh God, that you will give us listening ears, that we will listen and be able to hear from our young people, and give us the humility to be able to conduct ourselves in such a way that through your help, we might be able to remedy this problem. We thank you and we praise you in Jesus' name. Amen. So like you heard, I'm Francis Tabla. I'm privileged to be the pastor here of the Ebenezer Community Church. This is a pretty new church. We got started in September of 2000 with about 8 people. And the Lord has blessed us. We are now over 765. Got started in a classroom. at the North Hennepin Community College down the street. Moved a couple of times, but God graciously blessed us with this land in the city of Brooklyn Park. This city has been very welcoming to us. And from one stage to another, this is where we find ourselves. So on behalf of the pastors, the officers, deacons, trustees, members of this church, we want to welcome you. As you can tell from our name, we are called Ebenezer Community Church. We have a very special place in our hearts for the community, and anything we can do within our power as a church to enhance the well-being of the community, we don't have a problem to do that. Like Sister Goya, I'm proud to be a pastor, I'm proud to be a husband, I'm proud to be a community leader, and I'm proud to influence the lives of all people, intergenerational, and that includes young people as well. So we say welcome, and we look forward to having a great time tonight. Welcome.
The Reverend does a lot more influencing than me, just so you know that. He doesn't judge. I judge. I give grades. I give D's and C's and F's and F minuses. You know what an F minus is? No? Well, I guarantee you a lot of you have had F minuses. You know, if you're 20 years old and you're in a class but you score 18%, that's an F minus. If you score below your age, that's an F minus. So for those of you that are 50, 56 now, you go back to school, you can't get below a D anymore. Having said that, we are a community, not simply because we are diaspora Liberians. We are also a community because we have extended our community, our family pool. And so the next person I'm going to call on is a sister to the Liberian community, but she also happens to be the mayor of Brooklyn Park. So she's Liberian sister first before the mayor of Brooklyn Park. Mayor Lisa, there you go.
Thank you. I need to pick up this tree because as a mom, it goes right here. So. Sissy was just stepping over it like it was supposed to be there. I want to start out and just welcome everyone. I want to also acknowledge the other elected officials in the room. We have County Commissioner Jeff Lundy here. We also have my council colleagues, Councilmember Lee. I see Councilmember Russell. I see council members-elect Christian Erickson, Nicole Klanowski. I see school board member Tanya Simons. Are there any other elected officials that I haven't yet recognized? Thank you. So I want to start out by acknowledging Elvira, Fred, Carolyn, and giving once again my deepest condolences, and all of your support team, your neighbors, who continue to come out to support you, put their arms around you. I've heard many stories of Sioka as a child, as a mentor to the kids in the neighborhood. And what I said on Saturday at Sioka's funeral is, it's unacceptable that we were there that day. And it's only unacceptable, we can only prove it to be unacceptable if we do something about it. And that's why we're here tonight. I told the young people in the room that we can't, as adults, do this without you. Your voice is important. We are seeing things we've never seen before. Many of us never heard of a ghost gun before. Sioka was murdered by a ghost gun. And so to honor him, we must begin this conversation. We must look deep into your lives and the things that are happening to you. At school, outside of school, what is going on in our community? Because in order to change things, we first have to acknowledge those things. And so we're counting on you, our young people. Even if you're not comfortable sharing tonight in an audience-filled room, we need you to reach out to an adult that you trust, whether that be at school or somewhere else in your community, in your neighborhood. As Sioka had great neighbors who loved him, I'm certain he knew that he could go to any one of them for support. And that's the thing as a parent, I think it's important to teach our kids. Sometimes they're comfortable sharing things with other trusted adults who are not you. I had a Girl Scout troop of 18 young women that were my daughter's age. They're all beautiful, having babies now, getting married. But they knew that they could come to me and talk about the hard things, but they also knew that if it was something that their parents needed to be aware of, we were going together. That's important for all of you as young people to know, that you need other adults in your life. So please, we're counting on you. We want to hear your voice in one way or another, because nothing will change if you don't help us. And again, if you knew Sioka, do it for him. Because as I heard at the press conference today, Elvira begging whoever knew something, say something. We need to honor his life by figuring out who did what. Our police department is amazing. Last night at Chief Bruley's swearing in, I said that we have the greatest police department on the planet. But they can't do this job alone. Thank you. Yes. They can't do this job by themselves. When no one cooperates who was right there and saw things, that's a sad day in our community. So we as parents have to also learn what to do when our kids are doing things that we don't agree with, that we don't understand. We hear a lot of stories of moms who might find a gun in their kids' room. And what do they do with it? Because they don't know what to do. They hand it back to their kid and say, get this out of here. We have to stop doing that. When we find drugs in our kids' room, again, we need to know where to turn in this community. Rather than, again, handing it back to them and saying, get this out of here. That doesn't work. And then we land in a place where a young man who had good grades, was a star athlete, was a good person, who had amazing family, friends, neighbors around him, is gone. When just 3 weeks prior to that, he had reported he didn't feel safe. That's the part we don't understand. We have to understand. Because we as adults in the community cannot help you, the young people, if we don't understand it. As Elvira said to me, what could I have done differently? What more could I have done? And I've said this to multiple families who have lost their children to gun violence. We can be the best parents on the planet, and it takes 1 second for our children to walk out the door with the wrong kid. It takes 1 moment of weakness for everything in your lives to change. And we know that now. So, let's band together. This is not about any one of us. It is about all of us. We have to come together to make change in this community and to stop just talking about it. Thank you.
Thank you. So, to our young people, I'm used to speaking to younger people way too much, so I'm seeing how the older people get to this kind of, but we're here because of you. The mayor just spoke. We got a mayor living, work in here. We got police chiefs here. We got city council people here. They've been working all day in city council meetings, hope to be home, but they're here because of you. We got religious leaders here. We got Pastor Tabla who opened this place, I guess, this morning, hasn't gone home yet. We got Imam Dupli here. We got a bunch of leaders in this room because we want to hear from you, because we care about you. We want to recognize in a special way, I know we couldn't call him to speak because the day was here, but our own brother Winfred Russell, our council member in Brooklyn Park, a Liberian, who is not just a council member, who has established an organization, ASA, that's been helping, doing work to prevent stuff like this. We're all here because we want to let you know that we love you. So I'm going to call on Board Member Princess Wilson to come and introduce the panelists, because we're here to listen to people. Again, we don't have the solutions, we're not going to pretend we have it, but we want to listen. So Board Member Wilson.
I think the scissors get somewhere. So I am now going to call on Kamate Dian to give a recap of this program. And Mr. Moderator, here you go.
Sorry, on the lesson plan, somebody got to change it midway, so I apologize. Executive Director, I beg your attention.
I'd like to see you spend some time to listen. Thank you very much, Sissy. Good evening again. I won't take up much of the time. But first of all, I want to thank the city of Brooklyn Park. When we experienced over the last couple of weeks the epic issues of gun violence, gangsterism, and other things in our community, we are community leaders, but we are also parents as well, and that is most important. So we reach out to other stakeholders in the community, other parents, other leaders, and other organizations, and we say, look, we need to have an honest conversation around youth, gun violence, drugs, and gangs. But more importantly, we'd like to know and hear from our very youth. Let's get the perspectives. Let's see what is it that they can share with us. So we reached out to many other organizations. We said, this is what the situation is. Can you be part of it? I'm going to call those organizations names. If you have a representative here today, please stand. So, but more importantly, before I start to call the names of the organization, I want us to please let us all recognize the city of Brooklyn Park, its mayor and its police chief, who embraced this effort and said it was necessary and we have it, and they can provide logistics. So, a round of applause for the city of Brooklyn Park. So here today, you all have seen Mayor Lisa Jacobson. She's such an amazing person, I always say. If we have any other council member from the city of Brooklyn Park, can you please stand? All council members from the city of Brooklyn Park. All council members, you like that? And courage. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right. So we have now from other institutions and organizations, from the office, from the OCO School District, we have a representative here. Please stand. From MDH, we have a representative here. I promise to come. Please stand. Then we have our very own Major Longley, who always call it affectionate, but he's Commissioner Longley from this Hennepin County. Please stand. And of course, in the city of Brooklyn Park, there is a gentleman that is the brain behind all of these and kept the wheel wheeling in the person of Jay. Jay, please stand. Very good. So now we go to the various organizations that are part of this program. Minnesota ACNA, and the representative from Minnesota ACNA, please stand. The Liberian Ministerial Association, we saw the executive director, please stand. We have Majdi Al-Hassan, please stand. Organization of Liberian Women in Minnesota. We have Global Fatherhood. And the representative here today? Very good. Then we have ASA. ASA, any representative for ASA here today? Then we have, of course, Ebenezer Community Church, which is also a partner. Anybody from Ebenezer Community Church? There you go. Thank you, Ebenezer family. So they will also have the Goodman's Club. Is anybody representing the Goodman's Club here today? All right. So we also have member of a Blower Association that was not part of the initial planning, but decided to come on board to be part of the conversation. A Blower representative, please stand. Then we have Minnesota Council on African Heritage. Any representative for SEMA again? Oh, if you came out to me, she's stuck in traffic, so you know what traffic. Then we also have the AMWAC. Any representative for the AMWAC with me here today? Thank you very much. Then we have the Inner Hero. The Inner Hero, what is there you go. Okay, I've already called the Osio School District and other community leaders and organizations that we did not call. All we say today, thank you very much. This is the beginning of a series of conversation we will be having around the issue of youth, gun violence, drugs, and cancer. And I also get a special message from the incoming mayor, who could not be here when he asked me to please let this audience know that you are allowed to be here and I should please convey this to the audience that the incoming mayor, Hollis Smith, he sent me the text and said, please do this for me. Having said that, I want to thank each and every one of you. I want to thank, I forgot, for the Kenyan community, Huda. We had this discussion and she was on board. So, having said that, I want to say thank you very much. Let's have this conversation. And may God bless you all.
Thank you, thank you. And it's not an afterthought. Hilda, we see you. We saw you, Ron, we see you, my sister. Thank you. Also want to recognize Brooklyn Center School District. If you're here, there you go, man. Don't do that. Appreciate that. Now I can call on Boulevard Wilson, right?
Yes.
Okay, all right. Everything I said before, just put it in your hand, and then I'll see it.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. You know, when we gather, usually a lot of times it is a happy gathering. This gathering is both. It's a happy and a sad gathering. But it's the start of a conversation that is long overdue within our community. We have a grieving mother here, and there's another young man that was shot not too long ago. General, he is a new guy. So before we actually introduce our panelists, I want this grieving mother to stand and we can all give a moment. If there's anybody related to General in the room, please also stand and we can have the grieving mother stand. I want you all to just give a moment of silence for her son and the respect. Thank you. Please give an applause for the two panelists. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sis. I'm going to introduce our panelists, but I stand here also in two folds. I'm a community member, leader. I'm also a mother of a 16-year-old boy. That's tough. But as parents, I told my father the other day, I said, you know, if you had told me parenting was this hard, I wasn't going to have kids. It is a tough job. But as parents, when we can come together as community leaders, we're able to raise great kids and great people who will impact our society. Our children are the next generation. They are our future leaders, and we cannot sit and watch them kill each other. We cannot sit and watch our children go astray. This is a pressing issue. Everybody needs to be on board. All hands on deck for this one. Everyone, no matter how old you are, how young you are, which community you belong to, we all need to work together because this impacts all of us one way or the other. Thank you. I'll now introduce our panelists for tonight. We have two mental health specialists, so we were very deliberate about choosing our panelists. We're going to have some of the young folks up here because we want to hear from them. We're also going to have law enforcement, the mental health specialists. We really want to get to some of the root causes for the issue and come up with strategies. We want to leave here tonight with strategies to implement programs, policies that will impact our community positively. I was tempted to say amen. But we're in the church, amen? Okay, for our mental health specialist, Miss Tanya Reeves, are you here? Miss Tanya Reeves? Okay. Dr. King, are you here? Please give a hand as they come up. Representing our youth is Miss Tricia Hutchison here. Tricia Hutchison, she's not here. I'm going to have the other, I'm sorry.
The Centaurs, we may have beasts.
Yep, those two. I'm sorry, your names, you did wrote them down. I apologize. I'm going to have you say your names.
Hello everyone, my name is Noah Martin and I'll be representing Ferguson High School.
My name is Justin John, I'm representing Ferguson High School.
Thank you. Representing parents, we have Christina Ganda. If I butcher your name, I'm sorry. Yep. Mrs. Ganda. Kirkpatrick Wea, representing the parents, Mr. Wea. Representing our law enforcement, I'm going to have the Chief of Police of Brooklyn Park, Mr. Mark Butler. If I butcher your name again, I'm sorry, I apologize. We're also going to have Mr. Willem McGurry. Please give a quick hand. And it seemed like we have an empty seat, and I really don't like empty seats. So I'm going to ask for a community member to raise your hand. So just volunteer to represent the community at large. Anyone, quickly, thank you so much, sir. That was so great. Thank you. Thank you. Ambrose Russell, thank you so much. Okay, we have our panelists here. So we have pre-constructed questions, but we're also going to have you ask the panelists questions because we want this to be very engaging. We also, again, want to leave with solutions. We want to leave with engaging our lawmakers about policies that can be put into place and programs that can be developed within our community that would affect change. So if you don't leave here with anything tonight, remember those are the two main solutions we want to leave with. Policies changes and some programs changes that will affect our community. Okay, thank you all so much. Let's hear it for our panelists. That was cold. It's hard to be up here and speaking for the people. You guys are moderated and able to speak to you today. Thank you all. I'm going to have you briefly introduce yourself again, just what you do for the people who are representing the organizations quickly, and then we'll run into our questions.
Hello. Good evening, everyone. My name is Dr. Asia King. I am a licensed counselor and counseling psychologist. Have been in this field for 22 years now. I work, thank you, way to go, mental health. I do work in Minneapolis and Brooklyn Park throughout the Twin Cities. I work within schools and the community, teaching about mental health and breaking down the stigma around wellness and what does that look like, and help communities and families navigate how to get help and resources.
Good evening, my name is Justin Dallas, student basketball player at Ferguson High School.
Good evening, my name is Noah Martin, I'm a student at Brooklyn Center High School. Also, you could call me influencer on TikTok with 17,000 followers and 2 million likes. I've been really part of the community, trying to talk to my friends and my peers, trying to get them to consider them and just trying to motivate them to get from off the streets and talk to them about how bad it is and it's not going to lead you anywhere or do anything for you further on in life.
Hello, I'm Christiana Ganda. I'm mother. The last of my kid is 16. And I'm the president of the Liberian Women in Minnesota. I'm also a community worker and healthcare giver. I'm involved in the community, and I like to work with people. Thank you.
My name is K. Patrick Weir. I'm the executive director of the Liberian Human Rights and Refugee Welfare Organization. I have been working on youth, drugs, and crime prevention since 2004, especially when I work with Northwest Hennepin Human Services Council, as tobacco, youth tobacco prevention coordinator. I was able to use that program to aid crime prevention. So I have a vast experience in this area. I have taken young people out of jail. I have helped to negotiate the release of young people who didn't want to be in jail for a lifetime, to have them sent back to Liberia.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Mark Bruley. I'm the current police chief of the city of Brooklyn Park, and thank you for having me here tonight. Also, like to acknowledge I brought Sergeant Matthew Ravey, who's oversees our juvenile unit as a resource. We may ask him to come up and speak. Has a lot of knowledge about how our detectives and our juvenile unit interact with youth. And also, City Manager Jay Strobel is joining us as well tonight. So thank you. And just context, I've been with the city of Brooklyn Park for over 27 years as a police officer, and I've had many different ranks during that time. So a lot of years of blood, sweat, and tears with this community, and this community is very important to me, and this conversation is extremely important to us in the city. So thank you.
My name is William McCrary. I am the Special Agent in charge for the U.S. Department of Justice, Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosives, ATF. I am head of the St. Paul Field Division, which encompasses Minnesota, Wisconsin, North and South Dakota. And we are the federal agency that deals with firearms crime. Thank you for the invitation to be here. I appreciate it. My goal tonight is mostly to listen and to answer. I think it's great that we're going to walk out with, even if it's a tentative plan, some plan.
Good evening. My name is Ambrose R. Russell. I'm the founder and executive director of the Inner Hero organization, where we educate, inspire, and build. We have been in existence since 2010. We work with law enforcement at large, the youth, the schools, and different communities and what have you. Our goal is to help our community members become more productive citizens, but we cannot do it alone. It is you, me, and the rest of us putting together that makes the change, and the change begins with you and me. Thank you.
Thank you. We're going to have one more person join us, Pastor Haddon. He does a lot of work with the youth in our community, so we're going to have him join us up here as a panelist. All right. So we'll now go into our questions. For our panelists, the first question, and you know, we write from this side, so I'm going to pick on you, Dr. King, to start. And I'll start this way, and then we'll get random, okay? So nobody don't feel picked on tonight. Dr. King, what do you think are some causes of gun violence?
What are some of the causes of gun violence? That is a very loaded question. That is a very loaded question. When I am working with children, preteens, young adults, the glamorization of guns and violence is usually in their conversation around, you know, feeling powerful, feeling like they have control. Guns have been seen not as a means of protection all the time, even though it is and it can be. But when we're talking about youth violence, we're really looking at, you know, how do young adults and how do children really view guns, and what are the truths and the myths of them. 99% of the time and 100% of the time when our youths get a hold of a gun, it is based off of misinformation. They don't have all the real facts around the lasting results of owning a gun. They're not responsible gun owners. So all they know is what they hear from their friends, from the TV, from the movies, from the music. The music. And it's not just all music, but we're also talking about culture, your family. You know, I'm from the South, Birmingham, Alabama. Owning a gun down south is not a big deal because it's thought about as a hunting tool. You go hunt. So if you come from a family that endorses but teaches about the safety and the proper ways to own a firearm of some form of protection, that's the difference between a child that gets a hold of a gun and they're using it as a way of power, control, reputation, and so forth and so on. So when we talk about gun violence, especially with our young folks, when I'm talking to them, I'm not trying to demonize the gun itself. We're talking about the information that they're receiving around the gun and what it's used for, and the glamorization of killing. That's the issue that we're working on right now.
Thank you. I will have one of the youth answer this question. And then I'm going to skip the parent for this one, and I'll have a law enforcer answer this one.
Repeat the question one more time.
What do you think are some causes of gun violence?
Well, some causes of gun violence is mostly, well, share my age group to be exact. They see their friends holding guns, their music, as what Dr. King said. The music is really what is basing off of most of what's going on in the community. We have local community rappers. Some of you may know them. Some of them are Liberian, some of them are different ethnicity and stuff like that. But the music that they make, usually, who do you take my picture? Most of the music that comes out from youth and stuff like that is mostly based off of them holding guns, wanting to fit in, and thinking that it's cool. Well, being that it's really not, and like, that's where all the danger comes from, the gangs and stuff like that, fighting one another, that's what is mostly causing all the problems. And by them not knowing the knowledge behind having a firearm, they think that they can do whatever they want with it. They can get it from different places without having a license. When you get pulled over with it, you can't even go to jail. So basically what I'm trying to say is, by them just having it, it's just causing a lot of problems in the community, to be honest. As what happened to SK, also known as Sioka, that was like my breaking point, to be honest, for them having those type of firearms and stuff like that, because if we don't take it away from them, or if it doesn't leave from out of the position one way or another, we're going to see more and more cases like Sioka's in the case, because they think that they're just not going to get caught with it, they're not going to get in trouble, because they think that nobody's going to do anything about it. But in reality, it's bringing more cases like Sioka's in the case.
Thank you.
I'm with Dr. King. This is a loaded question. But I'm gonna answer it really directly at first, and then I'm gonna take you down a different path. And from my perspective in law enforcement, so I get to see all the details of all the investigations of every shooting, homicide that occurs. And if we really, what's some of the reasons for the gun violence? The number one would be marijuana sales, the right to sell it, or some sort of bad deal that somebody got ripped off and they owed them money. That would be the root cause of what started the disagreement or fight or drive-by shooting or interaction. The second one would be just disrespect. There was some event that took place, a lot of times on social media, that there was a feeling of somebody was so disrespected that they will pull up to a gas station and wait for the person, jump out, shoot up the car, jump in the car and leave. So I mean, it is that simple if we really talk about why did that shooting occur. Because we always put motive together when we bring cases forward to county attorney, and that's the motive. We know, however, intuitively that it has to be much deeper in that. And I think that's where my panelists were spot on. We have more, and I think it's twice as many guns in this country as people. If you watch the press conference today, we're now able at 17 years old to mail in a gun, make it in my bedroom, and be ready to shoot in 1 hour. We're not in our lifetimes going to get rid of guns to the point where they're inaccessible. That's just, and I'm not saying there shouldn't be gun control, because we could talk about that. I'm absolutely for good, smart gun control. Let's be realistic. But we got to go upstream and think about why are our youth craving, demanding that they must have a gun to feel some level of power. What is the desire that our youth need a gun like we've never seen before in 27 years, and certainly across this country? When I first started 27 years ago on the street, I mean, if we got a gun off a car or off a person, that was incredible. We talked about it in briefing, like, remember you got a gun a month ago or 2 months ago, that person had a gun on them? Now it is nightly. It is, shoplifters have guns. Everybody runs from the police, everybody flees, and everybody's got a gun. And that is a phenomenon, and everybody, exaggerating, so don't think it's everybody, but in percentage-wise, we're seeing so much more than we ever have before, which goes to the question, and I will be really honest, when I say youth, I'm talking 24 and younger, and that is the ages that we're seeing having this incredible desire to get a gun. And for me, that is the real question that I ask myself and community members continuously, and I love how Dr. King talked about the glamorization. I cannot tell you how many shootings or homicides we have, and I would say the vast majority, have video posts on the phones of them displaying guns, gang signs, rap music, and it's the same theme over and over in every shooting. It is a glamorization of this lifestyle, however you want to describe it, and it starts with you have to have a gun, and you know that because everybody in the car will be displaying their gun and talking about their gun and what they've done with their gun. And it is that glamorization and that quest for that gun, to me, is what we as a society, we as parents, we as loving adults, really got to figure out how we got to the point where our children think or believe or are attracted to that kind of lifestyle and think that's what they need to settle disagreements. And I'll stop there.
Thank you. My next question, and I will start with you, Mr. Russell. What do you think are some causes of gang participation?
Just from my experience with the youth and over the years, my own kids and what I've noticed, one of the main causes is that they feel disconnected. And the disconnection comes in two forms. One, the family have lost the trend. And what I mean by that is that our kids are yearning to hear from us. And a lot of times there's no family discussion or conversation anymore, so to speak, on the large scale of the people that I deal with. Most of the kids you hear them telling me that they don't feel represented at the family. Typical example, we had a community meeting the other day. Even parents going to the grocery store just to ask your kids, what is it that you want to eat? What is it that we should buy? Let them be part of making the grocery list. They're not knowing, most parents don't do that, they just buy. So you find the kids feeling that they've just been told what to do and don't become part of the conversation and what have you. So I believe one of the major problems we have, we need to go back to the original intent, the family structure. If the family is broken, if you want to clap, go ahead and clap. It's broken. If the family is broken, there's nothing can hold. It is all of the homes that will build a school. It is all of the homes that will build a community. It is all of the homes that will build a state. It is all of the, definitely it is all of the homes that will build a war. So, if we cannot hold ourselves accountable, but rather looking at the law enforcement, the police, and the teachers, this can never be fixed.
Thank you. I'm going to have one of the parents answer this one, and then I'll have the other youth ready to speak.
So, let us look at one side of the trouble with the young people. I have worked with West African youth, and many of the problems that I saw in those homes, it's not that the parents were not there for the children, but the outside influence on the kids is one of the challenges of the parents. So when I did the tobacco program with Northwest Hennepin, the youth that I came across were those that felt abandoned by their parents. They couldn't listen to them. They wanted to dictate to the kids, and the kids felt that for some of them, hey, you left me in Liberia, I came here, I lived my life, you can't control the life that I has been living for a very long time. So the kind of kids pose difficulties to their parents. Some of the kids got into the streets because they couldn't make it in school. We all know the educational system from Liberia here. They put you in a grade, you can't make it, you leave school, you go in the streets, and you join the gangs. I've had many of the kids. So the solution is that some of the children have to be identified. So what I used to do, I used to pair them. So if you're a good kid, I compare you with a troublemaker in my group and say you work with a guy. And then I used to take all of them to bowling alley just to have their minds relieved. So I'm very proud to have my son and myself on the same stage talking about crime prevention. That's my son right there. And so these are some of the challenges. Those that were having difficulties in school, I used to be a math teacher in Liberia. And so I started organizing math tutorial at the Shingle Creek Library, helping some of the children to get over their schoolwork. So these are some of the problems. But this needs a serious step. What are some of the reasons why the children carry guns? They want to steal. Steal people's cars, and the way they think they can get on cars is by getting guns. I have been put at gunpoint. Gateway come up. I have in my camera, some of the children carry guns. They have these, how they call it, marks on their faces, and they run around and they stick up people to get their cars. And I don't want to make our community children to look bad. These are Liberian children, and I have them in my video. And one of them wanted to shoot me when they broke in my car for the third time. I said, well, you can shoot me. But why are you breaking in my car? He said, I need a car. So I said, okay, you are over 18 years. I can help you to get a job. Just get out of my car. I will not call the police. So, those are some of the things.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you. I have a few questions to really go through, so please maybe answers to 2 minutes max, so we can run through these questions. I'm sure there's community members who have some pressing questions to ask our panelists. So I'm going to have the youth that didn't speak first to speak on this one. What do you think are some causes of gang participation?
I feel like the name title, like some group of kids be like, oh yeah, I'm with these people, I'm with that people, just to like put some fear in like other people, or basically like they're like people they be around and a whole lot of stuff. Another thing is, yeah, I don't know what to say.
Please, let's give him a round of applause. It's not easy to speak in front of people. And then alone, we have some parents in this house, and I know some of y'all going like, oh, tell your mom. So please feel free to speak. We're here to listen to you guys. Thank you so much.
And another thing is, like if you have a lost one, you know, somebody's like disrespecting them, you know, you would call somebody to be like, yeah, they talking about our homie, stuff like that. And then like, basically that's how I feel like that's how the gang really starts, from like people disrespecting like other people that lost people. And then like, you know, they start fighting, and then that's when they get involved with guns, start killing each other. So I feel like that's how it starts.
Thank you. You know, I'm going to have a young person from the audience answer this question too. Anybody? Okay, I have a hand here.
why do you think, what do you think are some causes of gang participation?
I do believe that people, the sense of belonging, people want to fit in, they want to feel like they belong. And then awareness is another one. Parents, they don't have like a lot of awareness. So the more we get involved into mental health and get to understand that we think about like our history, we come from a long history of war. Anything that seeking help, getting mental health service, like crazy people or white people stuff. So to be more aware and the stigma associated with just gun. If you tell your parents, oh, I'm going through this, or just drugs, and like, you'll just little, what problem do you have to go through this? So stigma, awareness, and shame. Secret is another one. As a parent, when your child is going through something, you don't know who to go to, you're worried, who's going to talk about me, but we need to reach out, more mentorship, to have like a more big brother and little brother relationship with other people that are doing well, and then big sister and little sister relationship. I think that would be very helpful.
Thank you. I want a young person to speak. I was going to say, this young lady, I've been eyeing you across the room. I know you have something to say.
Well, peer pressure plays a big part in pretty much everything, because it's not just, usually people don't, their first intent isn't really to join the gang, but when your friend keeps on encouraging you, it's like you lose yourself and you find yourself doing things that you never expected you to do.
Thank you so much. We're going to skip to the next question. We'll come back to community members. I'm so glad you guys are being interactive. This is why we call you all here. So the next question, I'm going to start with Pastor Haddon Smith. Bishop, I'm sorry, sir. Bishop Haddon Smith. How does gang participation or association impact one's mental health?
Right now, what we are going through in this nation, we find a lot of our kids that mentors are people that are rappers, people that are sending negative messages about drug dealing, about carjackings, about pimping. And these kids that are growing up, their minds are wide open, fresh, and they're looking towards Hollywood, you know. And so the parents are the pivotal part of our kids growing up into the men and women that they should be. But right now, a lot of the fathers not at home, and our kids are looking at the music video. They want that life. They want that lifestyle. They want respect, okay? But we can gain respect by being educated, by going to school. See, we got to find things for our kids to do. Our kids are idle and they're getting into problems. We need to give them something to do that will help enlighten them. Let's talk to our kids about being a doctor, being an electrician, you know, being a nurse. There are so many avenues, and we can serve as the role model for our children. Instead of having the government raise our kids, instead of having our kids look forward to the rap video and the music video that glorify carjacking, pistol whipping people, that's what they see, and that's what we are seeing today. And so I think what that young lady said about the big brothers and big sisters to become mentors, because a lot of our kids are getting mixed messages and they're really lost. They're really lost, you know. And when I talk about finding something for our kids to do, I sat down with two kids The day before they went into Eden Park and kicked that girl door open 3 o'clock in the morning and killed her. I sat down with them the day before, and we were talking about our building and getting them in there and giving them things to do. We give them a ride to blame to beat their family. But yet and still, these kids were led astray by an adult that controls their minds. We have to be more of an influence to our children, giving them positive vibes. I thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to have the mental health specialist that's on this panel to answer that question.
Can you repeat it again, please?
How does gang participation or association impact one's mental health?
So, when we are thinking about gangs and any other type of group think happening, we are working with young adults who are trying to find their own voice. They are searching high and low for their identity. Gangs provide identity. Now, whether it's good or bad or however you want to label it, they provide an identity. They provide a space for that youth to be able to say, I belong to this. Now, what happens when they start to have to belong? They don't know what comes with that. And I've talked to young men and young women around, what is the process? Like, how does joining a gang even start? And a lot of times it is about building some type of community. And let me point this out. I've treated thousands of people over the course of 4 to 5 states, Washington, D.C., Virginia, Minnesota, Florida, Alabama, you name it. Whether your child comes from a 2-parent home or a single-parent home, they are their own entity when they leave your house. So I want to make sure that we are very clear. Gang violence does not equal a broken family. Let me just put that out there. Because I have 2 boys, 16 and 12. I know I'm a great mom. But when they leave my house, we've got God, we've got family, we take vacations, I give them everything. But when they are with their friends, it's a different ball game. So let me make this clear. It has nothing to do with a broken home. It has to do with your child and them not being weak, but the peer pressure, the wanting to belong. They are searching for identity. And what's happening is that a lot of times in our homes as parents, and I'm guilty of this too, we're not listening. We're not listening. They're talking, but because of our beliefs and our values, and we are supposed to impose them on them, they're trying to find something that doesn't always involve mom and dad. And unfortunately, that leads to their friends and the music and the guns and the drugs and the gangs. So if you're a parent and you're struggling right now with your child, don't blame yourself. We can always get better. We absolutely can. But our children are also battling their inner voice and how to follow that and be true. And that's what mental health, my role is to provide the confidence that they can walk in this world with their mom's voice, their dad's voice, but also their voice. And have the self-esteem to know that they can make good decisions.
Thank you. I'm going to have one of the law enforcer answer this question as well. How does gang participation or association impact one's mental health?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I used to run the gang group in Houston for ATF, and I interviewed hundreds of gang members. I think Dr. King was exactly right, and the youth from the audience is right. And I'll say young men because I was a young man and I know this, are looking for adventure, for excitement, for belonging, for things to do, and to be represented and to represent a group. Anybody in here a Marine or a former Marine? If you have any in your family, you know them. They've got that Marine Corps thing on the back of their truck. They have the Marine Corps plates. They have, and don't call them an ex-Marine, because they'll tell you, oh no, I'm a former Marine, I'm just not in anymore, but I'm still a Marine. They have that identity from the time they sign up and go through, and that's that is part of their identity. Without serious intervention fairly early in a gang member's life, they will have that identity too. And they want it, they tattoo themselves, they want to represent, they're looking for the same sort of things, and I'm not equating the Marine Corps and gangs. I'll mistake that. But it's that same mentality, especially for young men. There is, it's very hard to get someone who has lived that lifestyle for a really long time out of the gang. The time to get them out is right away when they first get in.
Thank you. I'm going to ask this question to the youth, and some youth out here, please prepare yourself to answer this question because we're here to hear from you guys. You're that important to us, so we came out here to hear from you. How have gang participation or gun violence impacted you or someone you know?
Well, one way that gang violence has impacted me or one of my peers is that children our age groups, our friends are dying, their lives are being taken early, prematurely due to gang violence and guns, and children that have those things don't know the knowledge behind it, as I said before. So it's impacted us like really badly because until I don't even know what to say, because like by them just having those guns and stuff like that, our parents, like what Dr. King said, we leave the house and we're our own person. We don't have our parents to tell us what to do or what to tell us like how to go about things. That's why I always I tell my aunts, I tell my uncles, ask where my cousin's going, ask who their friend is. If you have to walk them out to the car, see what car they're getting in, follow them and do that. It's better for them to be embarrassed and you make sure that your child is going with a safe person than for you to be in a house and then tell you not to follow them, because like it's better to be safe than sorry. So, and that's what a lot of parents don't understand, or probably that's what a lot of parents don't want to do because they don't want to embarrass their child. I mean, my dad had to do it to me a lot of times. My dad was calling me outside to see who I'm going, like who I'm going to go pick up. Like my dad knows like most of my friends. And I'd rather him do that than for me to like follow behind a bad crowd and tomorrow my dad ends up crying for me or my mom. So it's important to know who your child is around. It's important to know what your child is doing. If you're calling your child and your child's not answering the phone, put a tracker on them. My dad don't do that, I want to do that. Put a tracker on them. always check my phone. He doesn't do that. And another thing is, it's good for you to let your child trust you and you trust your child also. It's good to have trust. If you have trust, then you're less worried about your child. You'll still be worried, but you're less worried about your child. For a fact, last year, this year, I started going viral on TikTok and stuff like that, and then I started going out a little bit more because people wanted to start like hanging out with me more and calling me to a bunch of places. But I've always been somebody, I like to go to parties, but I don't like to go to like share my age parties. I like to go to like people my dad's parties because some kids are just too loud for me. But it's good to like, don't go out too much. Like, be a homebody, be a home person. It saves you trouble, it gets you out of